Every year, hundreds of thousands of seniors experience strokes, and for many, it feels like it comes out of nowhere. But what if the signs were actually hiding in plain sight? And what if your everyday morning routine was quietly putting you in danger? In this explainer, we're going to dig into the wisdom of Dr. Hinhara, a Japanese doctor who practiced medicine for decades, well past the age of 100, on how to protect your brain. And that's a really serious question because the answer could literally save your life. We tend to think of strokes as these sudden, dramatic events, but the truth is that danger often builds up slowly. It starts with the very first choices we make the second we wake up. All right, let's get into it. And really, that's the heart of Dr. Hinahara's message. Strokes are not random bolts of lightning. They have causes, and, this is the important part, they have warning signs. That means if you have the right awareness, they can often be prevented. And that awareness starts by learning to listen to the quietest cues your body is sending you. So, what's that very first sign? It's usually not pain or dizziness. Nope, it's something way more subtle. And because of that, it's one of the most commonly missed signals your brain can send. Yup, it's sudden clumsiness. You reach for your morning coffee and your hand just misses. You know that feeling? You go to button your shirt and your fingers just aren't cooperating. It's so easy to just shrug that off as, oh, I'm just getting older. But Dr. Hinhara warns this is a critical neurological signal. It's a potential sign of a blood flow interruption. Think of it like a temporary kink in a garden hose. For just a moment, your brain isn't getting all the oxygen it needs to coordinate your movements perfectly. This quote from one of his patients, a 74-year-old man, it just makes this so real. He didn't have a crushing headache or slurred speech, just these small, clumsy moments. Well, a scan later showed he'd had a TIA, a transient ischemic attack. It's what they call a mini stroke, and it is a huge warning sign. And because they caught it, they were able to do something about it. And look, acting fast is everything. A study in the Lancet Neurology Journal found that if a TIA is treated within the first 48 hours, the risk of a major life-altering stroke plummets by a staggering 80%. That just goes to show you, simple awareness, just noticing that something's off, can literally save your brain. Okay, so we know what to look for, but when is the most dangerous time? Dr. Hinhara was convinced that for most people over 60, that first hour after you wake up is when your body is most vulnerable. It creates a kind of perfect storm for a stroke. So here's the science behind it. After 6, 7, 8 hours of sleep, you are naturally dehydrated. That makes your blood literally thicker and harder for your heart to pump. At the same time, your body releases a big spike of the stress hormone cortisol right at dawn, and that's followed by a natural rise in your blood pressure. So you've got this whole cocktail of risks: thick blood, stress hormones, rising pressure, all hitting your system at once. So, how do our daily habits accidentally pour fuel on this fire? Let's break down 3 of the most common mistakes people make, a lot of times without even realizing there's any danger. Okay, mistake number 1, skipping that glass of water. So many of us reach straight for the coffee, but your brain isn't asking for a stimulant first thing. It's begging for better circulation. And the cost of this tiny mistake? It's huge. One study found that low morning hydration was a factor in nearly half of all first-time ischemic strokes. Just think about that for a second. Almost 50% of these events are linked to something as simple as not drinking enough water. The lesson here is crystal clear: 1 full glass of water before anything else. All right, mistake number 2 is just sitting there in bed motionless. After you've been lying down for hours, your blood vessels are a little less elastic. If you just sit bolt upright and start scrolling on your phone, gravity takes over and blood starts to pool in your legs. That slows down its return trip to the heart and, you guessed it, reduces blood flow to the brain. The much safer way to do it is to get some gentle movement going before you even stand up. Roll your ankles, flex your toes, just to get that circulation moving gradually. And mistake number 3, skipping breakfast. Look, your brain needs fuel, plain and simple. It runs on glucose, and after a long night, its reserves are running on empty. For seniors, especially if you're taking medication for blood pressure or diabetes, skipping that meal can cause your blood sugar to crash. That can lead to dizziness, brain fog, or even trigger an event. You don't need a huge meal, just something small and protein-rich to get your system stable. So we've covered 3 big ones, right? But Dr. Hinhara pointed to 2 final habits that he says are the absolute deadliest, and they're the ones we almost never think about. Mistake number 4 is diving headfirst into stress.
You know the drill, grabbing your phone, scrolling through the news, checking emails, or jumping into a stressful conversation right away. A huge study in the journal Stroke followed over 93,000 people and found that high psychological stress early in the day seriously increased stroke risk, especially for people over 60. You're basically just piling mental stress on top of a body that's already under physical stress. It's a dangerous combo.
And that brings us to the final and honestly, the most surprising risk of all. It's something I think most of us are guilty of, especially as our routines might relax a bit as we get older. What do you think it is? The number one most overlooked risk for a stroke in the morning.
It's one simple word: stillness. And no, I don't mean the good kind, like meditation. I'm talking about just sitting there. Total physical inactivity. Waking up and then spending the next hour, maybe two, just sitting at the kitchen table, on the couch, with no real movement. This long period of stillness lets blood get stagnant, especially in the legs, which is where clots often start. We know this is a huge risk for patients in a hospital bed, right? Well, it's just as risky for someone at home.
And the data on this, it's crystal clear. A study in the journal Circulation found that older adults who sat for more than 9 hours a day had double the stroke risk of those who were more active. And here's the real shocker. That risk was still high even if they worked out later in the day. This tells us it's not just how much you move, it's when you move that really matters. Okay, so that's a lot of don'ts, I know. But here's the really good news. Protecting yourself doesn't mean you have to change your entire life. It's all about small, consistent adjustments. So here's a simple 5-minute fix to start your day the safe way. So here's what that looks like. Number 1, hydrate first. 1 big glass of water to get that blood flowing. 2, move before you stand. Gentle stretches while you're still in bed to stop that blood from pooling. 3, eat a little something. A small protein-rich breakfast to keep your blood sugar steady. 4, create a stress-free buffer. Just 10 minutes. No news, no phones, just let your brain wake up calmly. And finally, number 5, a little light mobility. Even just marching in place or walking around the room is enough to fight off that dangerous morning stillness. See? Every single step is a direct counterpunch to the risks we just talked about. You know, when you boil it all down, Dr. Hinhara's wisdom is pretty simple. Our health isn't about these big, dramatic gestures. It's about small, consistent acts of awareness. Your body is talking to you, sending these little signals way before there's ever a crisis. These morning habits are just a way of answering those signals. So the crucial point is this: your brain is asking you to pay attention. The only real question is, will you listen?